Best piece of advice you've received in real estate?
I think the best piece of advice I've received in real estate is focus on what you can control. There's so many things that we deal with as real estate professionals and our clients deal with, to be frank. And it's so easy to get caught up and like pulled into the muck of that. But one of my favorite ways to teach this to agents is the circle of concern. And you basically draw three circles, and there's a tiny one in the middle, and then a little bit bigger one on the outside, and then the biggest on the complete outside. So in the center, I like them to write down control, and then just on the outside of that, the second ring out is influence, and then the furthest out is concern. And so when you ask someone like, "What do you have control over?" What all sorts of answers will come out, but effectively themselves. Like the only
Right,
thing you
your
can
own action is about it. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Who you are, how you show up, what you do. So then you go into like, well, what can I influence? And really, you can only influence the people that are willing to, have conversations with you and receive information from you. So you can influence via, the whole influencer thing, right? Social media, you've got email, call, phone, you've got your personal sphere, the people closest to you. And then ultimately, like, what's concern? And concern is literally something you have no influence over and you definitely can't control it. So that would be, let's say, agents when rates started going up at the fastest they've ever gone up in history in 2022 through 2024. You have no control over rates. So it's a concern. But the question is like, if you look at those circles, control, influence, and concern, how much time do I want to give to each one of these?
Yeah.
And so many agents will obsess over rates being high or which political parties in office or, um, you know, things that you literally cannot influence or control on any level. The sooner you can recognize, like, okay, can I control this? No. Can I influence it? No. What do I want to do about it? You can make strategic decisions, of course, like what's going to happen with rates and how does that affect me? But at the end of the day, you need to understand what you can and cannot control.
There's an addiction, it's probably just human nature to looking at a problem. There's it's fun to look at problems, right? So it's fun to look at rates going up. Not fun for rates to go up, but it's fun to look at uh, any problems because it's exciting. It's excitement. It's a change, and it's interesting to us, right?
Sure.
And you have to, what you're saying is essentially you have to, yes, look at the problem, know what it is, and then sort of turn away from the problem and identify what can I do right now to cope or solve for this problem. And if the answer is nothing, then what can I do to live with this problem? Like how do I move forward? And the most successful agents I know do exactly what you're saying, is they say market conditions are this, or political climate is this, and here's what I'm doing. So
Yeah.
it's,
And if
yeah,
you get more granular on it, think about even like a negotiation scenario, right? Like you might have a client who gets a lowball offer and you're representing the seller, and the client gets the buyer writes a lowball offer, and your seller's like, look at this offer, this is an awful offer. You have a choice right there. Like as an agent, the natural agent, the normal agent response is like, DJ, you're right, this is a crappy offer, I can't believe they wrote that, why would they even do that,
yeah,
right? Or and the best way I could describe this, someone to describe this to me, like our clients are rolling around in the mud, and you can either jump down in the mud and roll around with them, or you can throw them a hand and pull them out.
right.
And it's like, you know what, you're right, this is a low offer. What would their offer have to be for you to accept it? Great, let's counter that.
Yeah.
Like let's just move on. Like acknowledge, move on. Right?
Move to solution, and
Correct.
focus on pivoting, focus on pliability, and not ramming our head into the concrete wall that we can't move. Uh, and I think it's really an important question to ask ourselves all the time, is where are we ramming our heads into the wall? And we all do it, and we all have blind spots. And so I think that's a great exercise, is what can I control? And it's the Serenity Prayer, basically, for those of you who are religious. Just Google Serenity Prayer. It is exactly what Chase is talking about.
daily
All
daily
right.
scripture for me. So,
Worst advice you've received.
you know, this is not necessarily advice, but I think it's a mantra that people really live by, which is like, I'm not going to start helping, buyers and sellers until I know everything. And I'll give you I'll give you an example. I met this new agent. This is a decade ago. This new agent comes in the office, and he's been in the business for 3 or 4 weeks. And I'm like, "How's it going?" He went to one of my classes or something, and he's like, "Everything's great." And I said, "Awesome. Did you get the CRM thing going?" He's like, "Yeah, actually, I looked at it, and I didn't like a couple things, so I'm building my own."
Mm.
So I'm like, "Okay, you've been in the business 3 weeks, and now you're building your own CRM." And you see, like, that's an extreme example of someone trying to perfect everything. uh but you see it all the time where people are like, gosh, I had agents on my team who they don't answer a call, and they're like, well, I don't know the answer, so I'm just waiting until I get the answer before I talk to this person. I'm like, that is not how this business works. You definitely don't need to have all the answers, and you need to be communicating with people and get into action, right? Like, 20 years later now, I mean, November 1st, so I'm 11 days from my 20-year anniversary in this business, and there's still things every day that I'm like, I have no idea. Let's go figure it out. So if you're waiting to know everything before you get started, you're never going to get started.
Yeah, perfection is the enemy. I forget what the expression is, but basically, God, I wish I would have not said that,
Enemy
because
of progress, I think,
that's
right?
it.
Like,
Yeah, there we go.
it sounds right.
So yeah, you first of all, perfection is uh, not possible anyway. So the idea of it's what they say about CRMs. What's the best CRM? The one you use, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, you could build your own, I guess, or you can just try one, and then when it you outgrow it, then you move to a different one that's a little bit better, and yeah, but or you build your own and you spend dozens of hours doing that, and resources, and I don't know, maybe that's a good idea, I don't know, but probably not. So yeah, I agree. Chase Craig, he is our guest today, and I am excited to continue our conversation. He's a licensed real estate agent, and since 2005, as he said, almost 20 years now. He's a coach as well, to business owners and agents since 2014. Over the course of his career, he and his business partners have closed, get this, more than 6,000 transactions, over 2 billion in sales volume. I had put in the description here 1 billion. No, it's 2 billion in sales volume, giving him real world authority in a competitive industry. He co owns City of Trees Real Estate and the Real Estate Growth Network with Brent Hansen, focusing on building systems that allow people to scale their income while protecting their time and their balance. Chase has shared the stage at major industry events, guiding audiences with a mix of practical tools and motivational insight. I want everybody to visit this website. It's realestategrowth.network, realestategrowth.network. And we're going to ask Chase exactly what this is, and why you should attend. And it's a freebie for everybody. It's a way to really start getting coached, and in particular, without having to fork over a whole lot of money right away. In fact, any money. So we're going to talk about why that's such a great idea, and it's also super generous. So Chase, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, DJ. It's
I,
a pleasure to be here, man.
I am so excited. We were talking about the future of AI, or sort of pontificating on where we think AI is going. So I don't think we should do that today, on air, because I think that will, I think there's enough chatter out there, and nobody knows. But I do want to hear about first, because you've been in the business now 20 years. I want to hear about how you got started. And the reason for that is I think fundamentals usually win the game, kind of, at any point in history. So even if we go back to 2005 when you started, and yes, the world's changed quite a bit, I'm curious if what worked then would work today. So tell us a little bit about why real estate, and how you got started.
So, thank you. Interesting story. I'll set the tone because you laid out all these accolades and all these cool things
Oh,
that
by the
I've.
way, also, and I'm going to interrupt you. Also, a 30 under 30 NAR award winner. That is a very big deal. If you don't know what that is, basically, it's National Association of Realtors each year selects the what they think are the sort of best and brightest in the industry who are under 30 years of age. He Chase had received that many years ago.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, many years ago. I am not 30, under 30 anymore, unfortunately. I'm a little older than that now, but that was 2011. So the reason I bring that up is because you mentioned all these things, and you're like, wow, that's cool, good for you. Here's how I'd want to set the stage. You might be out there thinking like, okay, so what? Like, good for you. You got lucky, or you worked hard, or whatever. Let me bring you back to 2005. So I am working at the Home Depot. I'm making $12 an hour. And a lot of you out there might be listening. You might have either right now or in the past, you've lived paycheck to paycheck. I was living tax return to tax return. And so what that means is my $12 an hour paycheck did not cover my bills. I was in a deficit every single month. And then hopefully I'd get taxes back and I'd be able to put money back into my savings so I could do it all over again. And you know, at the Home Depot, let's see, I ended up making a lateral change and setting the tone. I'm married and I've got two kids. My wife's going to school full time. She's the smart one. I dropped out of college so I could work and pay for this. And somehow we borrowed money and bought a home, like making $12 an hour, by the way. So it's like, okay, this is '04 when I bought the house. So we're broke. And I made a lateral change at the Home Depot 8 months in to my like raise because you only get a raise once a year. And 4 months later, I'm like, "Hey, where's my raise?" And they're like, "Oh, you made a lateral change. So you got to wait another year,"
Oh,
which is awful, right? And so I throw a fit, and then I get over it. And so 20 months goes by, and DJ, I get my raise. And what do you think my raise was? From $12 an hour to what?
well,
See
if
how
we think,
generous of a boss you are.
yeah, so if we if we think 10% would be a customary percentage. Now, I don't know at a $12 level what the typical raise is, but that's like a dollar 20. So I would get, you went from 12 to 15, I'm guessing, something like that.
Okay. So this is what's crazy, and you just set the tone for something that I think is massive for people to hear. So first of all, let's talk about the raise. I'll answer the question. I got 28 and a half cents an hour, and my boss looks me square in the eyes, and she's like, "Chase, great news. We're going to round that half a cent up and make it 29." And if you don't have a calculator, I'll do the math for you. If you work 2,080 hours a year at a half a cent, that's $10.40 per year extra that they gave me. So I felt trapped. I was driving home and I just remember feeling trapped. I'm like, no matter, and I was like a good employee. I was a forklift trainer, the safety trainer for the whole company. I knew how to do everything. I ran flooring, paint, and decor, and electrical, and like I did all this stuff, and it didn't matter. It didn't matter how much time or effort or energy I put in. No matter what, I got in a scenario where I was not in control. And I'll come back to the $15 an hour thing because I think that's interesting. But I felt trapped. And I immediately was like, I got to figure something else out. And I actually interviewed for a job. I looked to get another job. It was a warehouse manager for a tile company locally here in the Boise area. And I got to the third interview and they're like, Chase, you're great, but we're choosing someone with more experience. And I just felt devastated. I was like, oh my God, I'm back to the same thing. I'm trapped. Someone's like, we should get our real estate licenses. I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know how they got paid. I didn't know any of that. I literally went and signed up that night. I borrowed the money from a college fund that I never used to be able to pay for real estate school. I went to night school for 4 months to get licensed, and that's how I got into the business. Now, two things, okay? Because you read all the accolades. Real estate has been extremely good to me. But imagine if I would have gotten $15 an hour, I never would have left.
Right.
If I would have gotten that job at the tile company, I never would have left. I mean, I'd probably be the assistant manager at the Home Depot here locally, or maybe a store manager and making, nothing wrong with that, making 80, 90, 100, 120 grand a year. There's nothing wrong with that. And That's a lot different lifestyle than what I've been able to build in the real estate world. And so if you're out there and, I don't know, I'm sure some people that listen to this are thinking about getting into real estate. I'm sure some are already in real estate. But if you're out there and you're struggling, or if you're having like your biggest down moment, recognize that your biggest, the most painful, gut wrenching moment of your life could be the best thing that ever happens to you.
Yep.
Because if I would have gotten that raise and it would have been more appropriate for what I was worth, I probably never would have left. So sometimes that pain is what can drive you into making choices that will change your world.
Yeah.
So
Pain is a wonderful motivator.
yeah,
Well, it can be. It can also go the other way, and that's where choice comes in, and perspective, and attitude, and sort of trying to figure out, how do I proceed forward through the pain.
yeah. Well, I had a pity party, just like I'm sure most
Sure.
people would. Like 28.5 cents. This is a joke, especially if you're expecting $1, $1.50 or whatever. $3 would have been amazing. So I had a pity party, and then I had to make a choice. Like, is this what I'm gonna have for the rest of my life? And yeah, of course you deal with the pain, and then you decide, like, do I want to keep dealing with this forever, or am I going to
Mhm.
do something about it?
Yeah.
And so into real estate, I actually got in the business as a new home sales associate. So I started with a builder locally here, in 2005. And funny thing, I'll set the tone. I'm only 42. I'm saying I'm only 42 because I'm about to talk to you about getting fax machine offers coming in.
Sure.
Every day we would get the fax machine would ring and we'd have an offer on one of our listings for the builder. I was like, "What is that?" And they're like, "It's a fax." And I'm like, "For what?" And they're like, "Well, someone's sending an offer." And I'm like, "Did they call you?" And she's like, "No, they just send offers to the fax." I was like, it blew me away. I was like, what is happening here? It was a little frothy in '05, '06. That was before we had the great financial crisis.
Sure.
But yeah, I started as a host, and I was setting appointments up for senior agents, and then I became a junior agent, then a senior agent, then I was the trainer of that, the sales trainer, and I ran half the sales team. Uh, but my second journey into real estate started in 2011 when I left the builder. And so I know that's what you're saying. Like where, how do we find out some success in real estate? So thank you for going through that whole story to hear how I actually got started. When I left the builder in 2011, I left in basically in April, and I started on my own. And the way it works when you're working with a builder is you don't really get to keep anything, right? So I had no database, and unfortunately, I wasn't smart enough to like follow up with all the people I sold homes to. I
Right.
just was I was young. I would think I was 27 at the time. Was 22 when I started in the business, and so what did I do? I literally did everything, everything you can imagine to sell homes. Because I went from making the cool thing is when I got in the new construction side, I almost immediately tripled my income, like within the first year. I went from making 23,000 something a year to over 60, and then I was over 100K after that. So life changing experience. But when I walked away from that safety net, so anyone out there working for builders, or even, I think even, dare I say it, I think Redfin kind of feels this way a little bit,
Sure.
where you start to build up a pipeline, but if you leave, you lose all those pending deals that
Yep.
are there. So you have the safety net or blanket, if you will, and that's hard to walk away from. So what did I do? I literally did everything. I mean, in 2011, I did Buffini and newsletters and by referral and that kind of stuff. I called expireds. I door knocked. I held open houses. That's what I was good at, because when you work for a builder, you literally hold open houses every
Yeah.
day. So yeah, I'm sure you got questions. I've talked a lot. Is there something you want to pull out of me, or I can tell you more of what I did?
No, keep going.
Okay, so 2011, let's just talk through it. In 9 months, I sold 25 homes,
Wow.
and basically starting from scratch. And honestly, it was a little harder because everyone knew me from the builder, and at the builder, I could only sell the builder. So people I knew were buying homes without me,
Right.
because they didn't think I could sell homes outside. So funny story. Like 6 years after I left the builder, an agent called me and they're like, "Hey, can you write this deal up for me for the builder?" And I'm like, "I haven't been there in 6 years." Like, so it takes some time to rebrand as you come out of that. But 2012, I ended up selling 45 homes,
Wow.
and I hired a part time assistant at that time. And then she worked 20 hours a week. She was basically a TC because I was doing my own TC work in 2011. So 2012, I brought an assistant on. She did all my transaction coordination. Then 2013, I sold 79 homes, and that was with a showing agent who did about 37 of my showings, 37 of my deals, and then the part time assistant. And that's when I was like, okay, I'm burnt out. Like this isn't working. Selling 80 homes basically by myself with someone helping show. Constantly writing offers, constantly negotiating offers. You know, honestly, like burnt out. Like my kids at this time I had a brand new baby, and then I had two other kids that were older. They were like 7 and 9, and they just grew up like that. I was working 60 to 80 hours a week, and I'm like, I gotta do something different, and that's when I learned about building a team. Yeah, I'm trying to make sure I get to your audience what they want most out of this. Is it how I got the business? Is it what do you think would be the most helpful?
Well, I think let's talk about what you think works today if you were to start over. I know that's a question you probably get asked a lot, but I think it's helpful because you kind of did start over into, and had to you didn't bring your existing database with you and had to start over. So knowing what you did then, would that still work today?
Yeah, there's two main things. One is database. So let's just start there. You need to establish your database.
Yep.
Period. And we do have a free tool. You mentioned the website, realestategrowth.network. We have a free tool on there, the memory jogger. You guys can find that. It's a great way to like say, hey, who do it gives you literally every type of employment out there. So like accountant, and you're like, you list off the four accountants, and do you want to market to these people or not? Who do you know that's a landscaper? Who do you know that's a lawyer? Who do you know that's a blah blah blah? So that's a great tool. Then you have your phone, whatever phone you have all the contacts on that. You have your email. You can there you go to use AI and have it tell you how to get all your contacts out of your email. So that's a good starting point. Then you need to decide, okay, who am I willing to actually call? And that's where we talk about the database qualifying script. And this is where I think most agents fail
Yeah.
is they start with a big list and then they treat them all equally. And that you don't have time to treat a big list equally. You'd be much better off starting with a small, tiny list and treating them like kings, right? Or whatever
Yeah.
however you want to associate it. But like they're your only client in the world. I'd much rather see you have 40 or 50 people and treat them that way than 7,000 people and you call from 1 to 7,000 in order and then you start over again. That's not how it works. So what's the database qualifying script? Well, it's pretty simple. It's DJ, whatever. We did some sort of connection, right? Ford, family, occupation, recreation, dreams. We talk, we catch up, kids, football, weather, blah blah blah. Hey, before I let you go, when it comes to buying or selling real estate, I'm just curious. Do you have an agent that you refer to?
Yes.
Okay, who's that agent?
My friend so and so.
Oh, your friend. That's awesome. I haven't met them yet. That's great. Let me ask you this. Do they stay in touch with you about real estate?
Not usually.
Okay. Well, hey, look, I don't want to step on their toes. And I know based on this one phone call, I obviously haven't earned the right to your real estate business, but would it be okay if I kept in contact with you in the future?
Sure.
And then boom, I'm like, great. What's the best email? What's the best mailing address? I get you updated. Now, if most people say no, they don't have an agent. If they do say yes, that's exactly how you handle it. If they
Yeah.
say no, it's the same way. Like, oh, great. I know I haven't earned the right to your business, but would it be okay?
It's the same script. Yeah.
Yeah, the script is identical. Now, what did I do there? I weeded you in. I have permission to follow up with you. and I know that about real estate. There's this I call it the genuine agent model, and this is what I was just at KW at Mega Camp talking about this on stage. It's the genuine agent model. Okay, there's three G's of a genuine agent. Number one is you need to get real. And what does that mean? It means, if I know DJ and I established this database and I know DJ and I call DJ and I'm like, hey, DJ, what's up? Cool, good. How's the kids? Okay, weather's crazy, right? All right, hey, bye, right? And I hang up. So I call you. Now, let me back up a second. I talk and coach agents all over the country, and they have databases from 50 to 5,000 people, right? Or
Yep.
50,000 people. I mean, some of these companies are massive. Like our database is 75,000 people in Boise. So massive databases. Now, the question's this, DJ. Now, let's just assume you had a database of 300 people, and you are going to call these 300 people 4 times a year just to stay in touch and keep the relationship. Would you, if you weren't in real estate, would you still call 300 people systematically 4 times a year? No or no?
No.
No way. No way. So what I say, the genuine agent model is like, are you being genuine if you call people? The only reason you're calling them is you're in real estate, but you never bring up real estate. Like, let me flip this. Imagine your insurance person. Does your insurance person call you 4 times a year?
No.
Okay. If they did call you though, and they're like, "What's up, DJ? Kids, football,
Yep.
weather. Okay, bye." Like, would that be the weirdest call ever?
Definitely.
You would expect them to talk about what?
Insurance.
Thank you. Thank you. So it's no different in real estate. Your people expect you to talk about real estate. So please bring it up. And if you're not willing to bring it up, you need to slow down and ask yourself why. You're only calling because you're in real estate. Let's actually talk about real estate. So that's the first G, is get real. The second one is go back. So many people put people in their database, they talk to them one time and they never go back. So what I'm talking about is following up.
Yep.
90% of your business is going to come from, follow-up phone calls. So you do not put anyone in your database you're not willing to call again. Like, you're wasting your time. Let me just in case someone misinterprets that, like, it's okay to put someone in your database and drip on them with emails and stuff like that. And if they don't want you to call them, that's okay. But I'm talking about, like, don't put people in there who you intend to call, but you never will.
Always have a next activity.
Correct. Correct. Yeah. Yeah. I had a saying and I still say it to this day. Like, every time I make a phone call, DJ, I get an appointment. Even if I get their voicemail, like, hey, DJ, it's Chase. Checking in on X, Y, and Z. Hey, give me a call when you get a second. Otherwise, I'm going to try you again later today.
Yep.
I just gave myself an appointment, right? Or
Yeah.
otherwise, I'll try you in a month or whatever the cadence may be. So get real, go back. And then the last one is one of my favorites, which is give gold. And this is and this still works today, just like it did 20 years ago. And it probably will work 20 years in the future. I can't imagine it being disrupted. What does give gold mean? So, DJ, you're in Chicago, right? What's the
Yep.
busiest place you can think of? Like, if you had to go talk to 1,000 people today, where would you go?
If I were to talk to 1,000, I would go down into the loop
Okay.
where all the business people are walking around. Yeah.
All right. So now you're in the loop, and I tell you, you got to go to the loop, and you have to ask 1,000 people for $10. All right. So, hey, DJ, can I have $10? Can I have $10? Can I have $10? You're gonna ask 1,000 people on the loop for $10. Are you going to get some rejection?
Oh, yes.
For sure. For sure. When they reject you, how do you feel?
Uh, Probably some shame, some guilt,
Yeah,
yeah,
like, I shouldn't have
feel
been
bad.
asking anyways. I don't deserve it, whatever. Okay. How do they feel rejecting you? Do they feel good?
No, probably not.
No, no, no. I mean, there's some weirdos out there who are really, like, might say, "Oh yeah, I feel good telling someone no," but most people are like, "Why did that guy ask me money? I don't.
It's a
I'm just
bad
trying to go to
experience for
work."
everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, no one likes it. Okay, so let's flip this. Now you're in the same loop, but I give you a pallet of gold bars, and you have to hand out a gold bar to 1,000 people. Would you like a gold bar?
Yes.
Okay. So now this is what's crazy. Now you give them a gold bar and they accept it. How do you feel?
Good.
You feel good. How do you think they feel?
Great.
Okay. Inevitably, if you ask 1,000 people if they want a gold bar, what do you think is going to happen? Someone's going to tell you no, right?
Somebody will tell you no.
Yeah, they're gonna be like, "Dude, I'm on the phone, leave me alone. I don't know. I'm not buying what you're selling. Get away from me." How do you feel when they reject your gold bar?
It's really not a big deal. I just give it to somebody else.
I want to have a little bit of silence around that because I want people to understand you feel different when getting rejected when you give a gold bar than when you do asking for $10, right?
Yeah, if I'm giving a gift to somebody and if somebody I don't know, right? And they or somebody it's not like a family member and or close friend, and I'm giving a gift and they say not interested or don't have time for it. I'm like, "Oh cool, I can now give this to somebody else."
Yeah, yeah. So, what's the point? The point is when you're calling your database, are you asking for money or are you handing out gold bars?
Right. Yeah.
And here's the secret, if you don't know, you're probably asking for money.
Yeah.
But that's okay. This awareness is how we transform that. So now that you have awareness around it, like pick up a gold bar before you ever pick up the phone. So an example of a gold bar, if I'm selling real estate in Chicago, might be like what is happening right now in Chicago with prices on condos in, whatever. I don't know. I don't know the areas very well
Sure.
there, but like, people want to know their value. People want to know what's happening with interest rates. People want to know what kind of new loan programs are out there. You can become that economist of choice for people in your area, and they want to hear from you. "Ah, I wonder what's going on in real estate. I could better answer DJ's call."
Mhm.
All right. So was that was a long answer to a question you ask on what's working, but you do those three things, right?
So what we're really talking about is the problem we're solving for is call reluctance. So we have this database, we've done the heavy lifting, we've put everybody in, and then we've segmented them to figure out who do we actually want to call. And now we're stuck with, okay, now what do I say? And so our brain goes to, I don't want to ask for business because that's asking for $10, and nobody wants that question asked to them and nobody wants to ask the question, so that creates call reluctance. So we say, okay, we're not going to do that. Instead, we're going to call them and give them something of value. So now we have to think, what does that person want or need? Well, that person, like you said, is probably checking their Zestimate once in a while, right? So that's something that they're probably checking, and you could call them and say, hey, I was just checking your Zestimate for you, and I think it's maybe a little inaccurate. And I think I could give you a more accurate reading on that. Would you like me to shoot that over to you? Or here's what's going on in the market in your neighborhood. There was a couple condos that just sold. I know you're probably not looking to sell, but I wanted you to know that this is happening and this is what it sold for. So I don't know if this would precipitate you wanting to make a move, but I think you should know about it. Right. So you're now giving them something, which is exactly what you're saying, that is a gold bar. They're excited or at least interested or at least not rejecting it, right? And so I think that is a absolute brilliant strategy. And if you have 10 of those things, I have an agent who who I've had on the show, who what she does, one of the reasons she calls is she says, "Hey, I bet you have a home project in your place that you haven't started yet or you haven't finished yet." And it's so brilliant because everybody's got one. And the person says, "Yeah, I haven't done X, Y, or Z yet." She goes, "Cool. Tell me what it is. I'm gonna get you some help on that." And that's what she does. I'm like, that's brilliant, right? That's giving
So
gold. So
simple. So simple.
so simple. And it's something that literally everybody everybody can do. So I love that. So if you have a list of these 10 reasons, you just pick from the 10 and you give somebody something that they actually want to hear.
Yeah, and I mean, the cadence on this can be very, very, very simple, right? I mean, from a touch standpoint, like, an annual real estate review.
Sure.
Like everyone wants to know what their home's worth. I mean, you mentioned the Zillow thing. Hey, what do you think of this estimate? A lot of people are call reluctant, so why don't you screenshot this estimate of their house, text it to them, and say, "Hey, this is what Zillow thinks your home worth. What do you think?"
Yeah.
And if they engage, then you can do more research, and that's a great way to do it. And I think you could send the same text on your second example where you said, "Hey, these two condos sold in your building. Like, what do you think?"
Yeah.
And you just get a dialogue going. DJ, that's exactly what I was attempting to convey. So number one is build a database and communicate with it. Let me talk about the second one that I see time and time and time again, coaching top agents all over the country. It it is this in a nutshell. So something I attempt to teach is people don't need to be taken care of right away. They really don't, but they need to know they're being taken care of right away. So the acknowledgement of taking care of someone trumps actually taking care of them. So, for example, like right now, we're in this meeting. If I was selling real estate actively, which I do a little bit, but not as much as I used to, and someone texts me, I might be like, "Hey, can I call you in an hour?" And I text them back immediately. But I didn't answer their question. I didn't do any of this stuff. I just told them, "I've got you. I'm going to call you in an hour." That right there is the thing you notice with top performing people time and time again. Their speed in response is they dominate everyone. They dominate everyone. So they get a call on a sign call and they literally reply, "I'll call you in a minute. I'm in a meeting," or sorry, I can't talk right now. I'll call you back." The custom response that lets the sign call know that they're going to call them back. Because here's what happens in real life, DJ. If I'm driving by down a neighborhood and I see a sign and I call it and you don't answer, I drive until I see another sign and I call it too. And let's be real. Side note, this is going to derail us a little bit, but let's be real. Why would someone call on a sign if they didn't want to talk to an agent?
Right.
Everything's at their fingertips. They have a smartphone. It has all the information that they could possibly want on the house. So they're calling on a sign because they want to talk to someone right then, which means they're going to call someone else. So, does that make sense?
100%.
Yeah, the speed in which we respond is critical, and I'm not talking about speed to lead. I'm talking about speed to everything.
That's a really subtle sort of technique, but it's very powerful. And as you were explaining it, I was thinking about how it feels to me when I'm trying to reach somebody, a service provider, and they're not available. But I get that immediate, like, "Hey, I'm in the middle of something. I will call you back at this time, or I will get back to you, in an hour or whatever." There is something that feels very psychologically satisfying
Yeah,
about getting that little hit of, "Hey, I see you. You're important to me. I can't do it
acknowledgement.
right now, but I promise I'm going to do it." And it probably feels almost as good as actually getting the thing that you're wanting down the road. Like it probably. I would be curious to see dopamine levels of even just getting that little like acknowledgement of "I see you, I'm with it, I got you. Just give me some time." Probably feels almost as good.
Yeah, I think you're nailing it from a brain standpoint. Like you need that acknowledgement, and the acknowledgement is so simple. So like let's put it a different way. You're checking out at the grocery store, and a sign call comes in. Like this is or like a web lead or something. You get the notification. So and so signed up on whatever. Literally send them a text or call them or answer the call, whatever form it is, and just say, "Hey, I'm actually just wrapping up a meeting. Can I call you in 30 minutes?" The likelihood of that person answering your call in 30 minutes is going to go up like 200x.
I'm going to pause you for a second because you just blew my mind. So we have a holding company, which is for agents that are not actively practicing, and we're actually the largest one in the state. Not that that matters, but because we're the largest one in the state, we get a lot of inquiries. So today, I had 6 people call and leave voicemails for me. "Hey, I'm thinking about leaving production, and they stumble across our website, and they call me because they don't really understand how it works and they have questions." So I get these 6 voicemails, and really it's not really worth my time to call these people back. I have to call them back because that's just customer service, but for the amount we're charging them each year, it's kind of it's more me doing them a favor. That being said, I have to call them back, and I sort of reluctantly call them back. I like wait, I push it off. I'm like, I'll call them back later today. It's not that important. The better solution would be to immediately, like you said, send them a text and say, "Hey, got your message. Super important to me. I'm in the middle of something. I will call you back at 4 o'clock," or whatever. And not even asking them what time, just telling them, "This is when I'm free. I'm going to call you at this time." And then they can always correct it. "Oh, I'm not available at 3. Okay, cool. I'll try at 4, whatever." So what you just did is actually brilliant because you're right. Uh, you just said something very important is the probability of them picking up the phone when you do call later is huge because there are other holding companies out there. We are not the only player, and we're the biggest, but there's lots of others, and they will just go right down the line. I left a voicemail for DJ. It's been an hour. Haven't heard back. I'm gonna go somewhere else. Right? That happens. And so you just actually really helped evolve my process. You just helped me make
Perfect.
close more people for our holding company. So thank you.
Well, my pleasure. So that reminds me of a couple other things. We're just kind of talking tips and tricks and hacks here, and I love this topic. I could talk about this stuff forever. So, but I like to put logic to it, because this person probably had the thing on their to do list was to find a realtor or to schedule a tour for
Hmm.
XYZ home. Like
Yeah.
their wife or their husband said, "Hey, you got to get that done today." And they're like, "I got to get it done." And then they call and you don't answer. Now what? Wait, they're just going to wait? Their to-do list is going to sit there and wait for you to call back? Like,
Right.
what would you do? I mean,
It's
in this
psychologically
world,
unsatisfying to have an uncrossed off to do item once you've tried to cross it off. So
totally.
it grates on you. It grates on us. There's a
Well,
we move on to another solution.
and no offense to any realtors out there, because I am one, but like the public doesn't understand that who you hire matters. So it's kind of like if you're thirsty and you want to get a drink of water and this water fountain's broken, what are they going to do? Just
Find
wait
another
until
one.
someone comes and fixes it, or are
Yeah.
they going to keep walking?
Yeah.
So same kind of thing here, and yeah, it just reminds me of so many little like tips and tricks and hacks of little things that can really set you apart. So
It's important too because it's always the little things, and I think the little things, or seemingly, it's actually not a little thing to do this. It's actually a really big thing, but it seems it might, uh, might to somebody's ears might sound like a little thing. It's actually not. It's super significant because you're making somebody else significant by doing this little technique. I want to talk about. I know for you, one of your great passions is potential, and having an agent. You feel. I mean, you have certainly achieved. I don't know if you would say you've achieved your full potential as a realtor, but
mhm.
certainly you have some pretty impressive stats behind you. But I know that it's important to you to help agents achieve their potential. So, can you talk a little bit to that and like what gets in the way and how do you help an agent through that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you for asking that. So yeah, my mission, I learned this. It took me quite a while, but I kept getting drawn towards leadership and coaching my whole life. Like I was doing it when I was at the Home Depot. I was doing it when I was in sports. Before I ever had a career, I was doing it. Every step of the way, and I'm like, why? What draws me to that? It certainly wasn't income, because there wasn't more money in it necessarily. But what I realized is that the reason I've had the success that I've had in this business is because I had so many people that were willing to pour into me.
Yeah.
you know um Someone said we should get our real estate licenses. It wasn't my idea. Someone said that, and I was like, his name's Randy. He's great. He actually still works at the Home Depot. He literally just chatted me. This is crazy. He just chatted me like 3 weeks ago on Facebook. But he's still at the Home Depot. And uh you know uh, have been able to stand on the shoulders of giants because they've literally, anytime I've had a question, I've been able to go find an answer, and people have poured into me. So I really want to pour into other people. Now, you asked, you don't know if I've realized my potential in real estate. No, I don't think I have. I don't think anyone's realizing their potential in anything, and you can't reach your potential on your own, because you have blind spots. You need people in your world that are willing to have honest conversations with you. And yeah, it's nice to have your husband say you don't look fat in that dress, but it's also nice to have someone say, "Hey, you got something stuck in your teeth."
Right.
So how do we get to our potential? I think examining your level of coachability, I think, is huge. Your listeners on this podcast or viewers are already ahead of most people because they're willing to go seek information outside of their own knowledge base and implement it. I'm assuming they implement it, right? They maybe
Correct.
some people are just checking a box and saying, "Oh, I'm going to go listen to the Keeping It Real podcast because it's making me smart." And then other people are like, "I'm going to get one thing out of this podcast today, and I'm going to put it into practice. And if I do that every time I listen to a podcast, I'm going to get better." And then you have, as people get better and better, they start to recognize that the more time and money they invest in themselves, the greater their return on investment can be. The best place to invest is right between your ears. Like, and that's the number one top real estate you should be investing in. And then of course go buy all the real estate after that. But how do we maximize our potential? So I think we need to find ways to invest in ourselves, and it starts with time because you don't have money. And then as you start to make money, you can start to allocate some of that money investing in yourself. I hired my first coach in 2013, and I became a coach a year later because I just was blown away by how amazing the process was. But I was already, almost a decade into my career by the time that came around. But since 2013, I've had a coach. I've paid more than $1,000 a month every month since 2013. And I still pay today. I got my coaching call tomorrow afternoon with my coach. You think about Tom Brady, one of the biggest. I know you're a Chicago guy, so maybe you hate the Patriots. I'm a Denver fan. I'm not a huge fan of the Patriots either, but one of the, arguably the greatest quarterback of all time.
Sure.
Like, he's got a coach. Do
Yeah.
you think do you think his coach was a better quarterback than he was?
No.
No, not at all. You don't even necessarily need someone to have done as much or more than you have. You just need someone to be outside of you. I describe coaching as kind of like you're inside of a bottle, and you can see what's going on in your bottle, but you can't see the label. And a coach, when I am in a coaching relationship, in the first 5 minutes, I know pretty much exactly what they need to do.
Right.
The problem is we have to spend the next 5 months getting them to self discover how to do it.
Yeah.
Because then they'll be fighting for their own goal. So, um, you know, the you talked about how are people successful? What would I do 20 years ago? What did I do? What would I do today if I had to restart? What did I do 20 years ago? Like, all of those. So database, huge, right? Database, massive. Speed to response time, I think, has
Mhm.
led me to more referrals than anything,
Yeah.
period. And then the third one would be having accountability
Yeah.
everywhere you go.
Yeah, we're really what we're talking about is learning, right? And I think we can try to learn on our own, and certain things you can, but a lot of things, like you said, we have blind spots, every one of us, and and Tom Brady has blind spots. Tom Brady needs a coach. Tom Brady not only has a coach, he listens to his coach along with every other professional athlete. If they're smart, they listen to their coach, who is probably not as skilled at doing the thing that the athlete can do, but the coach can go, oh, I see you're doing it, just you have to tweak this little thing. And so that's the brilliance of it, is you don't have to look for the blind spots. You just have to have somebody who's good at finding them, and then you listen to them. I've always said, I figured this out years ago. It's maybe one of the only things I've figured out, which is I said, I need a council of people in my life that are willing to tell me the truth, and proactively. Like, I need somebody who, when I become a parent, if I become a parent, is going to come up to me and go, hey, I see you're doing this thing with your son or daughter, and it's really harmful to them. And you probably didn't realize it. I need people that are willing to do that. Right. I need somebody who's going to say, hey, I see you're doing this thing with your business, and it's a total, you're wasting your time. You don't realize it, but you should be doing this other thing, or guiding me through a process where I can come to that realization. So, you know, I am not going to get better on my own. Like, I am going to I'll get a slightly better on my own, but I will get much better when I have somebody who goes, hey, DJ, I was watching this thing you did, and, I have an idea for you. That's, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And you're right. This is what every successful person I know does.
Yeah, I think you kind of you said something. I'm not going to get better on my own, and then you correct yourself. Well, I'll get better. The truth is you can get better on your
Yep.
own. You're just not going to get as good and as far as fast as you could with others. So one of my first things I like to encourage people is everyone should have a mentor and everyone should be a mentor.
Mhm.
So let's look at real estate. If you heard all my accolades, you heard all the stuff. Let's say I'm on step 8 of the real estate journey, and you're a brand new agent, or you've been an agent for whatever, a couple months, or you're just getting licensed or whatever. You're on step 0. You do not want to learn from me. I mean, you can learn stuff from me, but you don't want to come shadow me and do what I do. Like you won't make a dime. Like you're not gonna.
The gap is too big.
The gap is so far. Yeah, you need to find someone who's on step 1. You're on step 0. They're on step 1. Let them be your mentor. Like make sure your core values align. Make sure there's someone you actually like and they like you. Let them be your mentor, and then of course you can have someone you mentor as well. And then you're constantly, and that's what I've done in my career in my 20 years. Like I'm constantly moving from mentor to mentor to mentor. And then, of course, I'm mentoring lots and lots and lots of people along the way. And that's all free. That doesn't cost anything. So how can you get in the room with someone who is going to make you smarter, someone who's going to challenge you? If you don't have any discomfort in your life, you're definitely not reaching your potential, because you can't, like, the gap between where you're at and where you want to be, the bridge is discomfort.
Yep.
So
Yeah, it's you have to be willing to turn your face towards the fire, and it's gonna suck, and that's how you know you're on the right track, right?
yeah,
You're gonna have a pit in your stomach. It's going to be very difficult, and you're not gonna want to do it because everything in life that's worthwhile, you're not gonna really want to do. But that's the rub. That's the boulder to push up the hill. It's worth it, but it sucks. And there's gold at the end, but you got to push that boulder. And I think you're right. Like this idea of finding a mentor is really great. So finding a mentor is scary. Going up to somebody and saying, I need help is scary. And yes, good. It's good that it's scary because if it was not scary, everybody would do it and maybe it wouldn't be that effective. So it's going to scare away most people. But the most flattering thing you could almost do to anybody in life is to ask them for their opinion. It's like ridiculously flattering. So if you go to somebody who's a little bit more successful to you and say, "I really admire the way you do X. I would love to learn more about how you do X." I would be shocked if nine of 10 of those people wouldn't take 5 minutes to sit with you, and maybe that develops into a mentorship. But I would be shocked if they weren't flattered and it didn't develop into some sort of relationship.
you hit the nail on the head. I mean, it's I've had to come up with different ideas and ways to handle those questions, because if as you start to produce more and become a little more well known in your market, you might have more and more of those questions. So you got to figure out how to respond to them.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, if someone comes to me and they're like, "Hey, could you help me with this?" I can't think of a time where they didn't get help from me. So
Yeah, maybe they didn't get an hour of your time because you didn't have it,
yeah,
but you were flattered, you did something for them, and, you thought, very you're all and also too, like, the people who ask for help are the people that really are gonna do fine because they're gonna get the help they need. Maybe I'm not the one to give it. It's funny, it's like I have this podcast, and it's relatively successful, by certain metrics. And I don't say that with any sort of ego because I don't think I'm a particularly strong broadcaster. It's just I've been doing it a long time and people listen, and I appreciate that.
you
And
do a
I'm
great job. I love it.
well, thank you. I appreciate that. And with all that being said, a lot of real estate agents want to create their own podcasts. A lot of people just want to create their own podcasts in general. Do you know? And probably I'm in the top 1% of podcasts as far as listenership and how it makes money. And I'm not Joe Rogan, but I this does generate some income now, and we have tens of thousands of listeners now. I assure you, I am not a special broadcaster. Now, but the reality is, how many times do I get asked, "How'd you do that?" Or "How do you do that?" Or "What would you tell me to do?" I've been doing this 7 years. I would say maybe 5 times people have asked me.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think I'm a fairly approachable person. I think I'm nice enough. Now I will do somebody's podcast. I get asked for that quite a bit. Like, hey, would you come on my show? And then they ask me from an interview style. But just somebody who's not doing it, who goes, hey, how did you do that? Now again, I please don't flood me with those questions. Or no, you know
You're
what?
about to double the amount.
You know what? Go ahead and do it, and I'll deal with it. I'll figure out how to give you value. But regardless, I'm not looking for it. Is my point? I'm not expecting it. I wouldn't expect it, but I'm shocked at how infrequently it happens. And I bet you that all the people that our listeners admire probably have a version of that where it's like it's not. It doesn't happen that much, right? Maybe it happens a lot if you're super visible like you and super accessible. Maybe, yeah, maybe you're dealing with that a lot because you're so out in the community. But for those of us, like, I'm shocked at how easy it is to get in touch with an author I admire. Like, I'm shocked at how easy it is to get to like a Ryan Serhant. Like, I'm not important enough for Ryan Serhant, and I'm pretty sure I could get him on the show if I needed to, like, or if I wanted to. So it doesn't make me special. It just means, like, I don't know how many times people go up to Ryan Serhant and say, hey, would you come on my podcast about real estate agents? Like, I don't know. Probably not as much as you'd think. Um,
I want to jump in here and say I think you've hit something. I think a lot of people think outsiders looking in think like, oh, DJ is not approachable, or like, oh, he doesn't have time for me, or I'm not a big deal, or whatever. But subsequently, like, look at the classes too. I mean, if I when I teach a class here, like, we have to drag people to the freaking class. It's like they think there's some underlying thing where I'm gonna trick them and make them give me money. I mean, I haven't charged outside of classes to donate money to like a charity or something, but I don't charge for that stuff. And these agents don't come, and and they're like, well, why would you teach me? I'm your competition. And DJ just nailed it. Like, well, because you're not going to do anything with it.
right.
So I guess there's the fourth piece of value is like actually implement something. Go back, listen to this podcast, write down 1, 2, 3 things you're actually going to do, then put it in your calendar and do it. And if you do that, you're going to be in the top 1% of agents, because most people, first of all, they're not listening to this. Secondly, if they do listen to this, they're not doing anything with it. They're just like, oh, I heard this cool thing. And then they don't do anything. Like, just implement. And just like you said with the podcast, like, no one even asked you. And I'm curious, of the five who asked, did anyone actually do anything? Or do you know?
Uh, I don't know. I probably
Probably,
not.
probably not.
Yeah, probably not. And again, that isn't to say, look, you should ask for help, and then you should do something about the help that you get, right? So you just said this. If you just took action, you're ahead of 99% of the people who listened to the show and didn't take action. So again, and look, we're all guilty of it. I listen to things and don't take action too, but you should take action, because we just gave, Chase just gave you a bunch of great strategies. And here's where you should also take action. Go to realestategrowth.network. Let's explain what that is before we go, because I want everybody to sign up for this, because like you said, it's a free resource that we could get into. It's about community and helping each other. And let's talk about it. So tell me what it is.
Well, the only thing I want to talk about is just daily growth. So I mentioned this to you offline, and I'll share it with all your listeners. This is one of the first times publicly we're mentioning it. So we are launching it November 3rd, and it's for the Real Estate Growth Network, and it's literally just every day, Monday through Friday, so we'll go Central Time from 10 a.m. to 10:30, Monday through Friday Central. So if you're on the Pacific Coast, that's 8 a.m. Mountain Times, 9 a.m., 10 Central, and then 11 Eastern. And we are just going to be, more or less a community. Myself, my business partner, Brent, will have guests on from time to time. We're going to talk about what's happening in real estate and what you can do to ramp up your day. Like, little tips and tricks you heard here. If you want to be in the room with top coaches and you don't have to pay us because it's completely free, join Daily Growth, sign up. You'll get your money's worth. It's free, so that's
Amazing.
good. And just see if you like it. We know real estate can be very lonely as a business. Even if you're talking to people all day, there's very few people going through what you're going through, and that's why we're building out the real estate growth community with our Daily Growth.
Yeah, it's funny. People tend to not value things that are free. And yes, that's a kind of human nature thing, but you can override that because the way that the consumption model works a lot these days is there are a lot of really great, I mean, YouTube is essentially free, right? YouTube is free. And there's a lot of great resources here. But I love the idea that it's live. I like the idea that it's daily because now it becomes a habit. And this is a habit that is holding you accountable to show up every day, which, by the way, not an easy thing. That's a big lift. You got to have content. You've got to, create this community. You've got to, get
Yeah, we're
people.
running a team selling 400 homes a year right now. So like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, you're busy. Yeah,
it's a
you
big
don't
deal.
have time to do this, and yet you see the value in it.
Yeah.
And also, yeah, I mean, look, this podcast is a mini version of that, right? Like I started this 7 years ago, didn't make a dime for many, many years, and did everything myself. And all I did was put out free content, and people like it. And it's led to other things. It's just led to other things. And I really encourage anyone to, you know, create some version of this in your own life. Give back, give to people. You will find that opportunities certainly can bloom from that. But for now, I want you to take advantage of this opportunity because it is huge. And most coaching, systems and most coaches, they don't do this for free. They just don't. And so Chase is really super unique in this thing, and he's giving back. He said real estate's been good to him, and he wants to be good back. It's certainly a wonderful, generous thing. So realestategrowth.network is where you go sign up. And who knows, I might sign up for this, even though I'm not a practicing agent, because I want community as well. And, this is something that I have thought to do a version of this here in my local Chicago market for recruiting purposes, not even for, and not to recruit necessarily, not to ever say you should join our firm because nobody wants that, but to create this sort of value that you're creating. So for all of our listeners, I don't have that right now. And if I did it, it would only be for my local people here anyway. So you're going to want to do it with Chase. So realestategrowth.network is where you go. We'll have a link to that in the show notes. Chase, this has been such a fun conversation, and I appreciate your time. I know how busy you are, and as a dad, as an owner, as a realtor, as a team leader, a coach, all of those things take up a lot of time, and you spent time with us, and we're super grateful. So on behalf of the audience, thank you to Chase. On behalf of Chase and myself, thank you to the audience. We appreciate you making it to the end of the episode. You are special. You are important. You made it to the end. This is where you are going to do well in this industry if you aren't already, but you probably already are. You're on your way. Go to realestategrowth.network and continue that journey. And we also want to say thank you to our sponsors. We appreciate you. You're the reason we can keep doing the shows. Please, everybody listening, tell a friend. Think of one other agent that needs to hear this. Boy, this is a great episode. Send this to somebody in your office. I would appreciate that. It helps me and it helps them. So do that for me as a thank you. And we will see everybody on the next episode. Thanks, Chase.
Thank you, DJ. Appreciate you guys.